Hello. Awesome. All right, well, let's get rolling. This week's chapter was about belief. So, who wants to start? You're pretty fired up. Why don't you start this one?
Oh, yeah. So,
Gotta remember now what chapter.
Yeah, I know. I listened to chapter 3 and 4 this weekend, but for me, can't remember the exact specifics. The whole point of people, your people understanding the why. What I remember is a CEO thinking that she was communicating to her sales managers, and they understand the message, and authors asking the people that they were cutting back on low performing salespeople, I think, right?
That's
so
just, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it's easy for me, thinking about my perspective, is like kind of expecting that people understand what I'm thinking. I think we all do it to a certain extent. So making sure people understand why you're doing something is super important, and that is the broad general gist of it. That resonated,
Yeah, it's easy to assume that people just can see inside your head sometimes.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with that for as long as I can remember, right? Because I'll be like explaining something, and I'm like, right, going through in Shawn language, and people are just like, I fucking know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get frustrated with people and think that they just don't get it, they just don't have the intelligence to figure it out. But I'm not that smart, so I always knew it really wasn't that they weren't smart enough to figure it out. It was that I wasn't explaining it in a way that they could understand.
Right.
And that's, as we all lead, that's one of the things that is key, is to be able to express your ideas in a way that other people can relate to them. I'm always a draw it out guy. I like to see things on visual, so I always try to think in terms of, if I was going to draw a set of plans, what would that look like? And then walk people through it. Sometimes you got to break it up, step by step. Don't give people, information through a fire hose, right? So.
One more thing I'll add on the why is that it started coming into perspective, like why has Shawn been pushing the Cardone and Dawson message on us? And it's I know why, but it kind of dawned on me again, and while I was kind of walking and listening, and I was like, oh man, and so realizing that the mindset thing, everything starts in your mind, is so important, because it unlocks potential of what you can get done every day in the office and outside the office. And I think it's really important for all of us to just understand why we do. Scotty, I don't know if you know about this, but we do our daily meetings. We watch a segment of Cardone, and there is a really, I learned a year ago maybe, after Cardone started setting in, I was like, okay, this is making sense. And so the why there is just, it was kind of, had a little second epiphany on it. And
yeah, and it's, it always goes back to the leader, right? Are we communicating the why effectively, right? If we're not, then we're doing a disservice to everybody around us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the mindset thing. Every one of the top performers across the planet always talk about everything starting in the mind. They always talk. You've got to be able to see it. There's the visual, right? There's the guys. So you got to be able to visualize yourself there. You've got to be able to feel yourself there. You've got to allow that emotion and that vision to pull you forward, and then you allow these things to happen around you. It's not necessarily I've got to go push my way through. It's I've got to see where I'm trying to go, and then the gravity of that will pull me towards it, right? And pull the things into your life that match up with your destination. So Yeah, mindset. And it's tough sometimes. You get a little kick in the head and you're like, man, that hurt. But you gotta stay focused on the goal, man. That's what the goal's there for. It's there to remind you why you're going through what you're going through. You're next.
So, it was interesting to me going through this chapter because I've learned this explain the why step. In the Marine Corps, even starting with your lowest level enlisted, your junior Marines, you're given leadership courses throughout your time. And one of the first things you learn, on top of, know yourself, see yourself improve and all that good jazz, is explain the why. It was interesting to me because the reason you're given is from a slightly different perspective. You have to explain what your commander's intent is whenever you're like given a mission, you're having to brief the Marines below you. And what the idea behind commander's intent is, you're supposed to basically kind of identify the overall like strategic picture of whatever your mission is, because the saying, no plan survives first contact. If you go into some situation with a solid plan of, okay, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to set up XYZ, we're going to do this, shit can go tips up all the time. If you know the commander's intent, you can make new decisions on the fly and plan on the fly on the tactical level and still be able to carry out your strategic plan. Mm-hmm. It's interesting getting the new perspective of you're also teaching your men the why, so that way they believe in your mission and are motivated to go and do it.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Bam, Jared.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chapter started with the introduction of the Iraqi forces into the battle plan, right?
Oh, the joint operations.
Yeah, and the fact that basically the Marine units would not get, or not the SEAL units in this case, I guess, would not get permission to go out and do a mission unless they included the Iraqis with them. And their initial reaction was, well, that's dumb, right? Here we're gonna take these guys, have no training, no discipline, like a whole host of reasons why this is a bad idea. But the why was, in order for the U.S. to exit this country's got to be able to stand on its own, right? So there was two things that they were accomplishing by teaming up with the Iraqis. One is the Iraqis would get on the job training, make them better. And two, every time they went out, if they could take away the insurgents' ability to fight in battle, then they're lowering the resistance of the insurgents and raising the ability of the Iraqis to police themselves or manage themselves. And that was the point of the mission. And until they understood that, it just seemed like a really dumb idea, right? So
Those were some hardcore moves.
yeah, the moves. So
I think for me, part of that is that Jocko, basically he set the standard for that as well. He said, hey, don't even bring me a plan that doesn't have the Iraqis included in that, because I'm not even going to submit it. So anything you bring to me is going to have that plan in place already. So he led by that, saying, hey, this is what we need to do. In the previous, crew or whoever was running, they were submitting some that, didn't have Iraqis involved, and they were kind of getting turned down, or maybe they, I don't know the whole situation there, but so Jocko stepped up and said, hey, this is what we need to do. Don't even think about it. Don't even consider not including them. And then the other thing for me was, as a I don't know, not kind of like a subordinate, but like a sub-level leader, because they're still leaders, but they have to be able to go to their top level brass as well and basically ask the question, why are we doing this? And they can't be afraid to do that. They have to be able to step up and say, I don't understand, help me understand.
Yeah.
Because if you aren't willing to speak up, you may not get the whole picture, and then you're doing yourself and your team a disservice by not getting the whole viewpoint of why they're doing this.
All because they felt stupid.
Yeah.
They were like, well, kind of dumb. I
Or-
feel dumb, or you know.
Or afraid that, you know, they were gonna get fired or something. You know, they got to understand that you can't lead the correct way, lead your team the correct way, if you're gonna be sitting in that fear of losing your job or looking stupid or, you know, just not, you know, being a quiet person. I'm a fairly quiet person, and you know, so I understand that, like, but you still have to be able to speak up and say, hey, you know, I don't fully agree with that, or I don't fully understand why. Can you help me understand that?
Yes, very important, right? And they talk about that in chapter 8, right? About what do they call it? There was a term he used for it, but basically that you need to be able to lead up the chain as well as down the chain, right? And leading up the chain means, hey, I don't understand what's going on here, so I need you to explain it to me so that I can understand it. And yeah, that whole example with the, you know, the room full of sales managers that didn't want to go talk to the boss because it was going to make them feel like they were, you know, they were dumb because they didn't understand it. And it's just like, I mean, that's, I don't know. I know it happens all the time, but it feels so juvenile when you see it from the outside like that, right? Here's a whole room full of these professionals, and none of them want to go and talk to the boss because they think they're going to look dumb by like not understanding it, right? And it's important too, if you're on the other side of that, to, like he said, you got to realize that sometimes people view you much differently than you view yourself. So if you don't come across as a person who can be
Approachable.
then you're gonna be holding your whole team back, right? Because they're not gonna be comfortable coming to you.
It's kind of funny. I bet you if Jocko would have asked them in that situation, you know, he said one of the questions was, I think, why are you afraid to go to them or something? And they're like, oh, well, I don't know, you know, I may be fired or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I bet you if he would have asked him, what would you expect of the people underneath you if they didn't understand? Yeah. And I bet you that I would want them to come to me and ask the question.
Yeah.
But then not doing it to their management, like, you know, so it's kind of just goes back to treat other people the way you would want to be treated, you know, that type of deal.
Yeah.
Is you expect it from your subordinate, why wouldn't you then go to your manager and explain, hey, I don't fully understand this?
Yeah. Well, it goes, you know, kind of look at it too in terms of you sell the way you buy, right? So if you project this fear of talking to somebody, then that is going to get projected downstream, like you said, right? So it's kind of an interesting concept to say, oh, well, you know, if I'm afraid to talk to somebody, then the people who work for me are more than likely going to be afraid to talk to somebody. So it's still that culture of it's okay to talk. Like, you know, you hear it 100 times, there's no stupid questions. Well, we all know there are some stupid questions, but that's okay. Still ask the question, because if you don't understand, you don't understand. And
correct.
You're going to be way less effective not understanding than you will be to spend the time with somebody to get them to understand. Now, you may find that there's somebody on your team that just don't get it. Like, you know, she was talking to the CEO, was talking about the low performers, right? She's like, yeah, of course you want to get rid of the low performers. They're holding everybody else back. Like, you guys are worried about losing the low performers. We need to get rid of them, and that gives the top performers, you know, more of the pie to eat, right? And better performance with those clients that those low performers are serving. So, you know, sometimes it's, you know, yeah, duh, not everybody's going to make it, and that's okay. It doesn't make them bad people, it just means they're not a fit, right? And that's okay. not everybody's gonna be a fit. You can't force somebody to be a fit either, so. All right, who else wants to go?
I'll go.
All right,
Yeah, this is why clarity is so important. You know, your why, your definiteness of purpose. You got to figure that out. Ask questions if you don't know. And once you have clarity, there won't be any confusion, and you know where your mission is and where you have to go. And you know, the quality of your leadership is also determined by, you know, your quality of being a follower. Jocko shows that pretty clearly on, you know, he has a chain of command, and he's also has leaders above him, so he had to ask, you know, why to get that. And the quality of followers in the business wasn't as high as Jocko as a follower. So, you know, they got to step up and get into that position of being a better follower, so that way eventually they become better leaders.
there was a
Well
term.
said.
There was a term that we used to use. I don't know where it even started. It was, you know, you got to manage your manager, right? So if you're in a spot and your manager isn't seeing something that they need to see, sometimes you have to manage your manager. Just be like, hey, I don't think you're seeing this thing that's going on over here, and you know that's that. You know, he calls it managing up the chain of command, right? And it is. Sometimes you find yourself in a position where you have to manage the manager because they don't see everything, right? They're not out there on the ground every day seeing what's going on. They're doing their thing. They got a great idea. They think they've got it all figured out. And then if they don't know about the problems, then we can't fix them. If we don't know there's a problem, we can't fix it, right? What you, Kev?
I've been out in the field for the last couple of weeks, so I've not completely ramped up, but I'm excited about the book. And but my thought in listening to the why is that, you know, a common understanding is so important to the group, because if there is any deviation from that understanding, it degrades the focus and intensity that a group can apply to their mission, right? And any variation from that, so like you have to have this full understanding, and you have to have the ability to believe in what you're doing in order for that focus and intensity to come about. So that's kind of the thought that I had based on the conversation that is going on. But I'm being a Marine. I'm excited about that book, and I can't wait to get into it. So.
All right, we got a 4-day weekend coming up.
Yeah.
Get the audiobook, it's badass.
No, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
I love listening to these guys talk. I really have appreciated Audible for the guys who read their own books. It's just like, man, this is great.
Yeah.
Like listening to Grant read his own book, Be Obsessed or Be Average.
You know, the only one I appreciated not reading his book is Trump, because he read the beginning and it was just like the way he talks. I'm like, I can't do a whole book.
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
good.
My favorite
Yeah.
one was Schwarzenegger. He was like
Oh,
doing
yeah.
his intro, and he's like,
Yeah.
and by the way, you might hear some pauses and some noises, and if you do, it's my little horse, Binky.
No, it was
She's
the
so
donkey.
cute.
The
Oh, my donkey.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
the
donkey,
donkey.
Binky.
Yeah.
So cute.
Or the pig too, yeah, mini
Yeah.
pig or something.
All right. Well, this feels like a good opportunity for me to ask, how am I doing communicating the why? Do we know why we're doing this right now?
Yeah, I do. I think.
100 contractors to 10 million and by 2035.
Yeah. And what's
Also,
that gonna do?
Elevate us and others.
yeah, because you're providing us with the tools necessary to help others too. Because that's one thing of the chapters, like they provided what they needed for the missions.
Yeah.
Because the other, what was it? The Iraqis, they didn't have the equipment, the mentality, nothing. Yeah, and one thing that I understood was that he had to make it known that this was going to be a war ended with sooner rather than later, because he saw that their sons would be fighting for this war. So I understood. It's like, I mean, he risked some people because the Iraqis weren't able to actually face fire.
Yeah.
Like they shot over their
Running
shoulder.
around, shooting behind their heads.
Like, yeah. Yeah.
I got something to add on to that real quick. So what for? I've said this before or mentioned it. The Cardone thing at the beginning, I really didn't. I was like, okay, I'm gonna run with this, and he wants me to do it, so I'm gonna do it. I was like, I didn't come here. In my head, honestly, I was like, I didn't come here to be a salesman. You know, that's not my thing. But when I just made it a point to watch the videos with Shawn every day, I started seeing other messages inside of it that really just apply to life. And it's not the back to the mindset thing. It's so important to adopt that mindset, and that it's kind of surprising sometimes if you just go into stuff and believe, even if you don't at first. I mean, you might be surprised with what comes out the back end of it. You know, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, at the core of the Cardone was not just, you know, the fact that we are all salesmen, right? Like, it's just a fact, seller be sold, right?
It is, yeah.
But it's also like, you know, the idea of self-improvement and like accepting that there's ways to improve every aspect of your life, and you know, and then led into the mindset and you know, you gotta see it happening, you gotta believe it's happening. So yeah, I think, you know, that was definitely an evolution to watch, and I really appreciated like seeing that you came on board with that, because I think the what sets us apart in a lot of ways is our ability to see that, you know, we all agree that this is a mindset game, and like it's whether we're 100% focused on the exact same thing, we're all 100% focused on the fact that it's a mindset game, and that's a big step, right? So we're all thinking, okay, how can we get where we're trying to go? And I think we're with the 100 contractors at 10 million, I think that's a tangible goal that we can all see happening. And then it's just a matter of, well, how do we get there? All right, well, you know, we're doing the things, right? We're getting the programs, we're getting guys like Pablo and Nathan, like there's our first 2 success stories, right?
Yeah.
And we just keep building on that, so.
Yeah, the gravity will build. For
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's happening, so.
Yeah.
Super excited. All right, guys, well, anybody else got anything they want to add?
Just quick thing that popped into my head while we were talking about this. Beyond Positive Thinking was about getting your mindset right and getting your goal out there. This feels like it's about getting everybody around you to not necessarily have the same goal and same vision in their mind, but get one that's aligned with you so it can all move in the same direction.
Right.
Bam.
Insightful.
Bam.
Boom!
Yeah.
Personal, professional, financial goals.
Clip that, put it on TikTok, and run it.
All right, guys, I really appreciate you jumping in with us today, and can't wait to see you guys again next week. Have a great Thanksgiving if we don't talk to you before then.
All right.
See you Friday.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.